Welcome to episode 2 of the new winter season of Back to the City. I'm Simon Calder, and I'm joined today by Nick Knutson. Welcome, Nick.
Hey, glad to be here.
Nick is the person behind the art shanty, or one of the people behind the art shanty.
The Hotbox Disco Inferno.
The Hotbox Disco Inferno in particular. And it's the winter season, but it's not very winter-like, is it?
No.
This is the 20th year of the art shanty.
Correct.
Yeah?
Yep.
And it did begin.
It did. Yep.
And there's some footage of you and DJ Gwingwans. Mm-hmm. That must have been exciting. How did you feel to get it up on the ice? And
yeah, so this is the 4th time I've done it, but this is only the 2nd time that I've been allowed to have people inside. We did a number of years, during COVID times, and we were working in a fishbowl style where we had performers on the inside and the audience was on the outside.
Yeah, like Ice Climber. There's some footage of Ice Climber.
I actually helped form that band, Ice Climber. They formed because of my shanty.
Hence Ice Climber, perhaps.
I contacted Xochi and was like, hey, can you get one of your groups to perform? And Xochi was like, I'm going to just form a new group. And I'm like, that's fantastic, let's do that. And so they were just going to perform there, and that was going to be it. But it became a much bigger project and very fun that I get to claim I started Ice Climber.
I like this episode so far. I wasn't expecting the revelation about the genesis of Ice Climber to happen right near the beginning.
Yep.
So we have a bunch of footage, video, and pictures from some of these previous occasions.
Yep.
So also now we have Cody and Manny. I can see them performing in this
Stranger
image.
Gallery was there. They performed last year.
Is that just as a 2-pieces performance?
We designed that shanty for bands.
Yep.
And so we had multiple doors that they could pop in and out of, just so the audience could get a full sonic experience, as well as they can pop out of doors and be kind of rock stars there. So that ended up being a really fun thing. Kind of logistically a little goofy, but we did it.
Yeah,
and it was
cool
cool
to be goofy.
I had that experience booking bands, and it's not something I want to do anymore. Bands are great, I love seeing them, but being on the other end of it and organizing everything, it got to be a bunch of jobs. And
the 2022, I was looking at the poster for the Rockbox 2022, and you had all kinds. You had Murph.
They actually didn't show up to that one. It didn't work out. That was the one flyer I had made in the beginning, and then I made weekly flyers. I think that's the only one I still had in my files, unfortunately. They said they couldn't do it because it was they wanted to be loud enough and they wanted to be Murph, and I guess they were... It wouldn't have worked, really. It was a tiny one. I went much smaller that year. It was only an 8x8 footprint. So I would cram in...
Can't contain Murph in 8x8.
Yeah, it was hard to, but we did get... So I've been to Murph Manor, where they all live, or most of them do. And one of my coworkers lived with them. He was in a different group, not as a normal group. It was called the Christmas Men, and they showed up. We are powering this thing off of a car battery. One car battery. I mean, it's a powerful one. It's probably for RVs, marine, or something like that. I tell them show up, with smaller practice amps, because you don't need to get too loud on a lake. Sound travels. And they showed up with Marshall stacks, and we got them in the tiny thing, and they went in there and just blew the place apart. We didn't lose power at all. I was amazed by that. I'm not an electrician at all, but we got it to work. It's all miracles, really, is what happens. I go into my art really just hoping for the best, and I'm not an expert on all this stuff, but everything always seems to work out in the end.
And it's different issues. So there's a 7th Street entry. So which year was that?
That was the very first year. It was in 2020, January, February 2020, just before the pandemic hit. So it was really the last fun thing to do. And not knowing anything, it was my foot in the door there. I had gone to the village the previous year and noticed there was kind of a lack of any sort of music or entertainment or anything like that. A lot of the shanties focus on nature or advocacy, and those things are kind of fun, but I felt like it was lacking. So going in there, I had from a previous project a light up disco floor that had become this is going to be the spectacle you're coming to see.
What was the previous project?
It was something with the Cultivate Botno, which was a project that was creating awareness with the Blue Line extension into Brooklyn Park, which is where I grew up. So I had like a very nice connection there, and came up with a project called Robot Mobile Disco.
Yeah, which I and the kids, Fiona and the kids and I,
you did
Beatrice in
visit one of
particular, the
them
5-year-old
recently.
daughter, came and danced with the robots to DJ Green Bands again.
And for that one, I wanted to make a dance floor, and I had never done that before. Like LED strip lights were kind of new at the time, and I was going to experiment with them. Figuring with dance floors, I was going to have a lot of people on them. I thought about durability as a big part of the construction there. So got a small dance floor put together, and we would go out to parks and public events and have this sort of outside DJ thing. But really what worked best with it was like in a dark space. So being in that shanty, you're out, in the middle of winter when there's, actually snow, and it's like all you see is just brightness and white, and then you transport yourself just into this box, and all of a sudden it's like dark and colorful, and you're in a disco in the middle of a lake.
Yeah, you were able to make that happen briefly this year.
Yes.
I really enjoyed watching that footage,
Yeah.
like the managing to make it happen for a few days.
And
was
having
super
been
cool.
through it so many times, this one had been so much fun because I knew I got to do it again, and I knew how it was going to run, and I knew how to manage my crowds, and I had more help and friends to join with me and be a part of it. And I'm putting them through a lot of work, but I'm always just astonished when they tell me like that was the most fun I've ever had. Like I love doing this, and I'm like, well, good. I like need you on my team. So we've got Joseph Fagerhow. He's a good friend of mine. He was a volunteer with the shanties in previous years, and this year I decided to just steal him and put him on my team. And
Nice.
He's an excellent dude.
Yep, he is.
Just a good guy to have around. So he's been kind of
I concur.
the door manager. Letting people in, and I kind of am like the hype man in there, and then we've got DJ Wing Wan's doing the DJing. So we put on a good show. I initially wanted to be a little more grungy with it, and it's kind of just turned into a fun, happy thing, because that's just what it is at the end of the day. We're in a flaming dumpster, so you're kind of like thrown off by like, oh wow, what is this messed up thing on the ice? And then you go in and it's like, wow, this is a nightclub in a dumpster. Fantastic. It's cool also that the art shanties allow me to have this place, like to do this. It doesn't seem like there's a lot of places out there that will allow this kind of artistic freedom, and that there are this many people coming out to see things and exploring. It's really an art museum on the lake. You're not going to get that anywhere else, really. So
When I came to your mobile disco, it was at a library, and also at the library was another robot-related piece of yours. Could you expand a little bit about that piece?
Yeah, so that was also with Cultivate Botno, with Hennepin County, and actually the McKnight Foundation offered me a large grant to do that project. But it's a very large structure that is kind of used for like dance events. It's a stage for the community. Like it literally is a stage. It's based off of a robot playground I grew up with in Brooklyn Park, and I think that was really like a first landmark as a child that you recognize and are proud of, and it becomes something that creates community. Like we're going to the robot, you've got strip malls and nothing else in the suburbs, the school and a bunch of houses, but there's the robot. And they took it down I think in 2005, so it had been gone for a very long time. And coming up with that, like I want to bring this back for the community that I grew up in. So I can't build it the same way, obviously. It was like 20 feet tall and rusty and metal, and I mean they had to take it down. But if I could bring back some of those elements that were fun and recognizable, like just the giant robot head and what it represents as this fun thing within a landscape of kind of just like bland suburban, have a little fun in your everyday.
Yeah, something to engage with, something enlivening.
sure.
How did you find yourself in the position of being able to give that back?
Yeah, I had been pursuing a lot of grant projects. I did a lot of work with Hennepin Theater Trusts. I had not really been familiar with grant writing, and they'd given me some opportunities, and I had finally figured out, like, kind of just, tell them what the project is and what it's going to bring to the place. And I think having been a resident there, that did give me a benefit, like, this is my hometown, this is, like, how I want to give back. And ironically, as a teenager and a young artist, I wanted nothing more than to escape from my hometown and just run off to Minneapolis and go do cool punk rock stuff. And, enough time has passed, and it's like, I think this is my home, and I need to, share my abilities with my community.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was looking at some of your other work, and there's this bunny bench and otter bench. Where are those, and what's the story behind that series of benches?
Yeah, those were
benches?
In St. Paul in the Trout Brook Nature Sanctuary, which is a relatively new community park. It's over near the east side of St. Paul. It's kind of off of Maryland Avenue and 35E. The community there had, put out a request for proposal for a series of benches. And I had visited the park before. I checked it out and really saw that, nature was the biggest part of it, and kind of reflecting that in a fun way. The neighborhood also was like, a lot of families are there, a lot of children, and I wanted to do something again that was like family friendly and, very, accessible. But also we ran into some challenges where I had to test out some new materials. I worked with an engineer named Will Knutson, and he's worked with me on the robot too. He does a lot of the engineering stuff that I'm not so good at. He's has a background in architecture, so we can get all the T's crossed and the I's dotted and all that. We had an issue with like someone wanting, or like what was it, arson. They were worried about arson. I usually work with like wooden materials because it's more of a familiar material that people can engage with. So he came up with like an HDPE plastic, which is like what they build like playground slides out of. So it's, durable and flame resistant. So they were really worried about that. You get like bizarre requests sometimes, and it's always interesting to come up with solutions to that. And, changing to a new material is always a challenge, but, got that one figured out. Yeah, it's one I don't frequent that one as much as the others, but it is a fun place. So do check them out in the Trout Brook Nature Center in St. Paul. They're fun. They are meant to last, so they should be there for many, many years.
Excellent. We have been talking about and planning to do an interview about your involvement in the art shanty for a year or so.
Yeah, true.
And I was excited to plan this. We're filming the whole winter season of Back to the City in February, and we've done 3 episodes back to back today. This is the third. And when I had read day off from all of my jobs the other day, I was listening to the music of the other bands I was gonna interview today.
Sure. And
somewhat strangely, for late January, early February in Minneapolis, rollerblading around the lakes. So I was listening to, and I was rollerblading to go and check out the art shanty, and of course I was aware that it was strange that I could simultaneously rollerblade around lakes and look out onto Lake Harriet. And sure enough, here's some footage that I got. I rollerbladed there, and then here's the video footage that I got of the art shanty. And then of course, by now, between the filming of this interview and the airing of this show, you've been involved in taking the art shanty down, because it's winter isn't wintering this year.
No, it's coming down tomorrow. I've got to go out on the ice and take it down. It was a shame that they made the call. They can't put it on shore either. I think the ground is too soft. There's something about that. They didn't want to damage the park grounds.
I see.
I believe that was the the reason.
I see.
And I don't know, we may have it up somewhere. I haven't gotten a notice about that yet, but in past years, my shanties have gone to, I call it the playoffs. We go to the postseason, and they send us to Springboard for the Arts in St. Paul. So we've done some programming there following weekends.
So you'll have DJs. So
basically the same setup. Yeah.
Yeah, totally.
And I'm hoping for that. We haven't gotten an answer yet, but I think it's too good of a project to just pack up and put away right now.
Yeah.
I will say that I'm looking forward to next year with it and repeating it again. Just that it's too good to not let people experience it.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so, I've always got new ideas for what's next year, but I think having thought of this one for so long and executing it, but then having it cut short, it just really needed another try.
Great. Okay, so watch this space. It's likely that viewers who want to be dancing in the context that we've been talking about today will have an opportunity
they
to just
might have an opportunity.
Not on Lake Harriet.
We can't tell you where yet, but we're thinking it's going to be somewhere.
Where can people follow to be up to get notifications?
Yeah, I think if you follow Art Shanties on social media, they have an Instagram, Facebook. They will definitely be announcing if there are any shanties going to other spaces or events. I think it's likely they will, just because so many of us put so much hard work into it, and we still want to be, out there. I feel maybe I shouldn't be saying that necessarily because it hasn't been announced, but I mean, I'm going to do it either way, I think.
And that's what notifications will be if something happens. So do keep checking that space.
For sure. And by the time this airs, they may have already made that announcement.
Yeah.
So who knows?
It was so weird to be on my rollerblades and to be looking out, and a whole village.
Yeah.
The whole village was there on the ice still. Did you get to experience the rest of the art shanty? Because I have the footage of it here. Could you describe some of the other things that were going on?
Yeah, so I don't get a ton of time to be out there because I'm running a nightclub. I'm a really important guy. But this was a great group this year. There were a lot of fun shanties and activities. One in particular, there was a film studio, and I'm going to forget the name, so I had not been able to spend enough time with them really. But they had a number of backdrops set up and scripts from movies, like a lot of Coen Brothers films. They had like scripts from Fargo, and people could read off the scripts and reenact the movies in these backdrops. And I think they would film them, and then they actually had like an editing booth and would edit live or whatever. I think that's what they were doing. That's one of those things that's like very Minnesotan, and we're gonna like lean into that, and I really love that part about it.
I love it.
There was a witch's candy house. Like, I don't know what was going on with that, but it was kind of creepy and cool, and I'm all about that stuff. There was this group called Curious Karens, they were my neighbors last year, and I got to know them. They're pretty fun. It's like a sculptural stacking shanty where they have various objects, and Karen's is referring to the stacking of rocks.
Okay.
Not a different Karen. I thought of that too. I was like, well, that's a weird name, but no, it's a really fun shanty. They were back again.
The character Karen is not famous for her curiosity.
No, but they would be called the Karens, and I was like, no, but not like a bad Karen.
Yes.
So that was one. I can't say there was a number of them that just looked really cool and interesting, but I had no idea because I didn't get enough time to be out there to explore them. And most years, honestly, I don't. I meet them afterwards and in between, but it is always a really creative force out there, and everything is really fun.
Yeah.
They all do a great job. So
I'm really glad that we have had this opportunity to honor the art shanty and your work in particular.
Yeah.
We're hopeful that, as we've just been highlighting, there will be an opportunity to visit your nightclub.
Yes.
Still. Do you have anything else on the horizon? Because of course it's you.
Oh yeah.
There's all of these. It's not just
this
the art
was
shanty.
going to be my thing for sure. But I think now that this has come to an end, I mean, be doing something throughout the rest of the winter. This spring, I have a project with the Knight Foundation and Springboard for the Arts to do another mascot project involving the Green Line in downtown St. Paul, kind of bringing awareness to the use of the light rail and like businesses and attractions to see out there. So I'm developing this character. My friend Nick Canfield, he is the mascot operator. He's a great dancer. He just loves getting involved with it. So I'm going to put him in a mascot costume, and we're going to do some just funny stuff out there.
Was he the robot?
He was the robot.
He's Fiona Beatrice and I would dance with.
Yeah, he's an old friend of mine. We've been friends since elementary school. So
he's a good dancer.
He is a great dancer, and who would have known?
Even with a massive robot head on.
Yeah, he's a pro. He's great, you know. And so he's going to get involved with that. It's mostly going to be like videos, probably TikTok, Instagram, that sort of thing. We might be working with some St. Paul public television or something like that. I'm going to see what's available. But that's what my project coming up will be in the springtime and maybe into summertime. So that's what I'm up to. Other than that, I also do the May Day Parade with an outfit called the Chaos Combat Marching Band, which is basically a noise marching band. And we've been following the Southside Battle Train. We just kind of follow them, and they're a bunch of cool dudes that just let us do it. We did one in, I think, 2021. We jumped back into it, or 2022. I can't remember. They all meld together now. But the Heart of the Beast theater puppet wasn't involved anymore, and we kind of just went out there and threw a parade without any help from the police or fire department, and everything was cool because the community out in Powderhorn is just like, we need this parade every year, and we do it. So you'll see me out there, I suppose. I'm kind of recognizable. And that'll be, May 1st. So
excellent. Normally in Back to the City episodes, music by the artist is playing during the interview, and I was thinking, what will we do this time? So, with it having been discovered that you unintentionally led to the genesis of Ice Climber. We've been listening to Ice Climber over the course of our conversation.
Heck yeah.
And please do continue your habit of nonchalantly, unintentionally causing bands to come into existence, because I'm very thankful for Ice Climber.
Awesome. Yeah. Cool.
It's been really good having you on the show.
Thanks for having me.
You're very welcome. Again, we unofficially encourage people to keep on checking the Facebook of Art Shanty, because if, as is quite plausible, there are opportunities to experience what Nick has created for us to experience, so that's where you'll find out about it. In the meantime, I'll see you on May Day and in other nightclubs. In the meantime, and thank you for coming on Back to the City. Thank you, viewers, for watching episode 2 of the winter season. We'll be back next Thursday, 10 p.m. MCN 6 with Christy Costello ahead of her record release at the 7th Street Entry on Saturday 17th. And then on Thursday the 22nd, Unstable Shapes will be with me ahead of their Zora Darling show on March 15th. This has been Back to the City. I'm Simon Calder, Nick Knutson. We'll be back.
See it. Awesome.
That was good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was fun.